If you had to sell your entire collection, and I'm talking everything, and start all over, could you do it? Well, I'm going to give you my answer and also the potential start of a brand new project. Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Cardboard Coach. My name is Neil. Little switch up right there. So, it's been a couple weeks since I made a video. I figure might as well do one. I've been wanting to do one for a while because I saw a video from Theo, the Clemente collector. And he has a real nice series going on. I think this is like the second part of multiple parts where he asks questions that are entertaining. Some of them make you really think, including the one he had about selling selling your entire collection and starting over. Could you do it? I think I think most of the answers was no. Some were yes. And I could agree with both yes and no, right? You get to a point where when you're a collector, sometimes you hit the doldrums, right? You get a little bit bored, a little stagnant. You kind of take a break. Something happens, you reinvigorate yourself. And I think that happens within the YouTube community. I've only been making videos now since end of April, early May. Been watching it a lot, but seems like in the past couple weeks, maybe this relates to my collecting right now. Post national, post auctions, and so on and so forth. Even though REA is ending tonight, which is going to be a good one. They always are. They always are. And if I had your money, I might be going after a lot more things. But in any event, Theo, if I understood the question correctly, it was basically if you had to sell it all. I could not do it. I could not sell everything. If that was the true hypothetical question, I could not sell everything. There are a handful, and I'm talking a small handful of cards that just have stories attached to them. They're sentimental for one reason or another, usually involving gifts from my parents or, memorable gifts from my girlfriend, who's now my wife. Things along those lines, cards I purchased when my kids were small, things along those lines. But if I had, let's just say in that same hypothetical, it was all or nothing, and I chose to sell all of it. I don't know if I would come back to collecting, at least the same way I do now. I think submissions to grading companies would be probably close to 0%. Buying graded cards, it may be, I'm not going to say zero, but it would be down. It would be a lot less. I'm starting to really reinvent my collection and my style to pre-grading, and just keeping cards ungraded, looking for raw cards that look great, not necessarily in the best condition. Now, when I buy cards from the 70s or on up, I want them to look at least near mintish. I'm not going to be pulling out loops or anything like that. I'm just going to look for the things I basically look for, and that's color, clarity, registration, centering, good corners. And then, as it moves down, into the 60s and the 50s. Centering is still kind of important. Registration always will be in color. But, I don't mind necessarily a wrinkle or a paper crease or maybe a touch of paper loss as it kind of goes more and more back, to the early 20th century. At this point, I've only owned a few 19th century cards. I have 0 in my collection at this point. And I think, thinking about it, I think I've only owned two cards, both commons, but that's something I'll address in the near future at some point. But I just wanted to kind of bring that out, just an excuse to make a video because it's been a while, and also talk about just a new collection that a new set, I should say, that I'm considering starting. I've said this before on my channel. I'm not a set collector. I've been a player collector. I've been a team collector. I've been a typeset collector, which I still am. But, again, we have these cards for a while. Sometimes we get a little bit bored, and you kind of got to shift the focus to kind of keep things fresh and keep things exciting. And that's what I do with collecting. But I started a set probably about 15 years ago, give or take. Came within 2 cards of completing, and decided at that point, I was so close. Decided at that point, just, I think something else came up, a new and exciting piece of cardboard that I liked. I forget what it was, but that's probably what happened. But I stopped. I sold what I had, went down a different path. That path, I'm sure, led to a lot of others, but I'm considering getting back onto it, and I'm going to show you what I have right now, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so the set that I'm considering doing, and I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly. I am close to 1/3 of the way done. I'm going to start with the greens, and that is the 1954 Red Heart dog food set. It's a set that most every collector is very, very familiar with. I mean, this is a well-documented set. It was created by John Morrell, who also owns Morrell Meats and put those out. It's back, after, this is post-war, obviously, but, around this time, America was just getting bigger, and just more affluent, and families were starting to, here's the back of it. Families were starting to, kind of introduce furried companions into their home, and there was a market for this. And, so dog food companies started popping up, and, as America, kind of got bigger and the nuclear family started, and, Fido and Rover came into the home. So, Morrell Meats put out Red Heart dog food. And this set was just fantastic. It still is. I mean, just the design, kind of like I believe you would call this kind of not really necessarily Art Deco, or maybe, but just the colors that were used, the things I've read about this set, over the years, just it was an expensive set to kind of create. Nothing was spared, but as you can see here, here's an all-star second baseman, Jim Gilliam, and this is a George Kell. So the reason I'm putting these together is one glaring difference. All right, one is SGC and one is PSA. They're both great and fantastic. I love both of them, but SGC wins. They usually do when it comes to presentation. It just makes everything look better. When you're in a tux and you're not, you just look better dressed up. So, but that's the first two. Moving on, we got Alvin Dark. And, these are all kind of mid-grade, which is what I'm kind of looking to do. If I do it, And those are the greens I have. So Carl Erskine was one of the two players that I fell short. Reds are a little bit tougher. They're a little bit tougher to find in the condition that I'm looking for. Most notably centering. And there's, sometimes there's issues down in the borders with some, black smudgy print. I don't know if that's prevalent on all of the green, blue, or red. You could order these, by sets, red, green, or blue back in the day. And from what I understand, you could do this up until 1970, if not the early 70s. And that's why you're going to find a lot of these cards looking really, really sharp. But this is Carl Erskine. He was one of the two I did not have. The other is Stam Musial, also red. Erskine was a great pitcher. So there are 33 cards in this set. Here's Gil McDougald. Beautiful card. I mean, that hat, it's just a fantastic, fantastic card. But yeah, I mean, all 33 of these guys, they were either Hall of Famers or star players at the time. Here's Red Schoendienst. And it's a lot of star power in this set. And it's only 33 cards. So, I may try this again because I just love this set. It's just, I love pre and post war. I'm probably 51-49 or 55-45 more of a post war guy. I just think the 1950s, were the greatest decade in baseball cards. That's just my opinion. Some might say the 30s, and they're not wrong. Some might say 1909 to 1919. They're not wrong either. But I just happen to think, or anyone from the 60s or 70s. I mean, it's just your opinion. Here's Bob Lemon, another Hall of Famer. Bob Lemon has some really nice cards, by the way. His Red Man is a thing of beauty, in my opinion. I will own one of those one day, maybe. We'll see. But as you can see, these are all just kind of present well for the grade. And there's Bob Lemon. There's my man, Richie Ashburn. This one was always tough. This is the second Ashburn I've owned. And Ashburn, like a lot of the Reds, are notorious for being a little off center. This one, no exception, but this one is centered pretty well. I spent a little bit more on this one. I mean, like $20-$30 more than, comps. Sometimes I can't stand that word. If it's a card you want, a card you like, a card you can afford, buy it. Just do it. Because you know what? If you don't, you're going to regret it. And I just pulled the trigger on this one, sometime last year. Just kind of, it's a Philly. What are you going to do? But yeah, there's Richie Ashburn. And then, so believe it or not, I mean, the Reds, I missed out on 2 of the 33 cards last year. There was 11 in each. I'm halfway done the Reds, almost. I got 5, so I need 6 more. But that Musial is very, very tough. But one example will present itself to me. And here's Billy Pierce again. Very, very good pitcher back in the day, and just real nice blue hat. Slight little white outline, which happens on some of the blues. Just a great example of this card. And my favorite last card, my favorite Mickey Mantle, of any Mickey Mantle, regardless of value, and that's his Red Heart. Now this one, I wanted obviously a centered example. I wanted uniform blue. I wanted the blue to be a certain hue. I mean, a lot. And when you're spending this kind of money on a Mickey Mantle, you want to get like every single checkbox that you can checked. And this one did it for me. I really wasn't planning on buying a Mickey Mantle when I bought it. Probably, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago. This is my most recent pickup. And it set me back a little bit, but I knew I wasn't going to the National, and I knew I got rid of a lot of excess stuff that I just did not really particularly want anymore, because we don't need these things. We, they're baseball cards, but, we do like owning them. We do want to, be collectors and so on and so forth. But, there's the Mickey Mantle, and he would look great one day paired with Duke Snider and Warren Spahn and, of course, Stan the Man. One day, maybe soon, maybe not. I know a couple YouTubers out there just bought some really nice mutuals, and my hat's off to you guys. You know who you are. And congratulations on that nice pickup. But that's all I got for now. Again, happy collecting to everybody out there. Buy what you like, buy what you can afford. Good luck in REA tonight if you're going after anything. I'm going after a few things, but I have a feeling it's going to get priced out, as REA pieces generally do. But sometimes you just got to do it, right? So until next time, I appreciate you watching. Thank you for any likes and comments, and I appreciate all you guys out there. You guys take care.